So Tony, I did make you co-host as well, so you have full access just in case something happens on my side.
I appreciate that. I got your email. I was on a different link earlier registering. So I'm
No
glad
worries.
we're ready to rock.
No worries. Yeah, let's go ahead and get this started now. I do appreciate you guys taking the time to host this as well too. This is going to be a part of a number of series that IQ Reseller and Uber Freight will be doing together. I appreciate everyone that did register and currently attending. We are recording this, so if someone's not here, we will be able to share this amongst as well too with the attendees that were not able to make it as well. And yeah, I'm very excited for this as well too. This is something that's been in the making for many months now. You guys actually reached out to me through a code call, and we've just kind of started our conversations for a number of months to where now we've kind of worked something out to where we think we have something pretty powerful here that will give market intelligence as well as market advantage for freight when it comes to shipping IT products at a wholesale level. Across the United States. You guys have a lot of power within the industry as well too. So this is something I'm very excited about. And kind of taking a step back, this is just really the first step of multiple series that we're going to do to help educate IQ reseller users of what you could be doing to possibly utilizing every ounce of freight with Uber Freight, get best possible pricing as well too. And we've set up some pretty good process flows here that's going to give you guys some really good aggressive rates or be able to provide some aggressive rates with us and to my users at IQ Reseller. And then eventually it will be all automated through IQ Reseller as well too, but you don't have to wait for that to come in the application, which is due out at the end of the year. You have the ability to reach out to them now too. Who's going to really be the star of the show here is Tony from Uber Freight, who I did get the pleasure to meet face to face. They're at the old post office in downtown Chicago. It's a beautiful facility that they have. And he is you're the regional sales manager for Uber. Is that correct, Tony?
Yep.
Yep. So enough of me chatting. I'm going to go on mute and turn my camera off. And I look forward to what you guys will be presenting today.
Thank you, John. Um, Good afternoon, evening, or good morning to everyone on the call. Not sure where everyone's based, but I believe there are some Europe URLs on the call as well. So I really appreciate everyone taking some time to meet with us. As John mentioned, I'm Tony Trombetta. I'm one of the regional sales managers here at Uber Freight. And we're excited to talk to you guys today, not just about Uber Freight, but about an exciting partnership through IQ Reseller that we think is a great opportunity for the folks on the call to take advantage of. So I'll share my screen here. And John or Aiden, you want to let me know if you guys can see it, okay?
Looks good to me.
Great. So this is the first of many webinars co-hosted between IQ Reseller and Uber Freight. Again, today's more high level. We want to introduce who we are as a partner, how we plan to work with IQ Reseller, and then set the table for what you guys can expect for future webinars and our partnership moving forward. I do have some time at the end for a Q&A. So if you guys have questions, please at the end, let's come off mute, engage, have conversation, and I look forward to it. So a little bit of agenda. We'll start with Uber Freight, who we are, give you guys a good idea of us as a whole and some of the more early modes that I think we can begin to take advantage of. Then we'll talk about IQ Reseller's partnership with Uber Freight, what that means for the customer base on the call today, how we can take advantage of that relationship, and what that process will look like moving forward. And lastly, as I mentioned, just a snippet and a peek into the future on the type of webinars and content we want to put together moving forward. So as a whole, Uber Freight. You hear the word Uber, it's exactly what you're thinking. We are part of the $160 billion ecosphere that is Uber. Today, as you can see highlighted in blue, we're going to be talking about the Uber Freight supply chain portion of the business. But it's important to note that we are a very seamless ecosystem. We have many customers, whether they're carriers, the rail yard, enterprise customers, who are not just taking advantage of Uber Freight from a supply chain perspective, but how can they leverage Uber Rides, Uber Eats, and other portions of our business. So just some stats and some qualifying metrics for folks on the call so you know kind of what this partnership looks like. Uber Freight's the largest 4PL in the business, right? We have over $20 billion worth of freight under management that we execute year over year for customers. It's comprised of over 6,000 customers. We're doing it over almost 2 billion transactions and have some pretty impressive stats to go along with it. So that being said, Uber Freight in specific, we are an end-to-end logistics provider. So we're broken up into three main categories of managed service, logistics applications, so our technology, and our carrier network. People, technology, and capacity. The two we'll focus on today will be the technology and the capacity portion and how that'll be integrated with IQ Reseller. We'll be focusing on three modes today: full truckload, LTL, and intermodal. But I do want everyone on the call to take note of the many different modes and services we can offer. If you guys have questions about these modes, you want to learn more, we'll make sure that John shares our contact information and we can have those conversations. We'll also have some more specified webinars in the future. At our core, we're helping to reduce costs, drive efficiency, increase acquisition, and unlock insights. These are the four things we're focused on for our customers, and we think our technology, people, and tech enables them to take advantage of. So full truckload. We'll talk about full truckload as a mode and how Uber Freight is differentiated. So when we're looking to ship full truckload together, you guys have the peace of mind and wherewithal knowing where we're strong and how we differentiate. So the first thing that's worth noting is industry capacity, right? 97% of all the trucks on the road are comprised of owner operators. These are folks with 5 or less trucks in their entire fleet. So this could be somebody who owns their own truck and they're booking, or a small family operation, very small carriers. And when you think about the competition from a full truckload perspective, they're using carrier reps to call on carriers and cover freight. So they're incentivized every day to cover as many loads as possible. So if you're in that seat, it might be tedious to spend time talking to 5 separate owner operators for 20 minutes apiece and maybe walk away booking 2 or 3 loads. Carrier reps typically like to focus on the biggest fleets possible, where they're in 10-minute conversation, they book 50. So what we've seen is our competition tends to neglect that tailwind capacity, right? And again, that makes up 97% of trucks on the road. So Uber Freight has our own carrier ecosystem that allows drivers to find loads that are best for them. We've empowered those owner operators to make decisions based on how they want to manage their assets. If they need to get home to Connecticut for a family reason, they can take a load to Connecticut. Not only does this allow us to aggregate and source capacity quicker than our competitors, but it leads to happier drivers, less bounce rates, and falling off carriers. We're not bullying everyone down to Florida for enterprise shipments. On top of that, we do have a carrier sales team. So we work with the largest fleets in the country, the national carriers. We manage private fleets for many of our enterprise customers, and we're covering freight at the similar clip of our competition there. But that main differentiator is going to be the way we source those owner operator capacity. Additionally, through our full truckload, you guys are going to have access to data that you're not getting today with your current providers. So we're going to be able to tell you exactly how long your carriers are spending at any facility and where those dwell times or accessorial charges could incur. We're going to let you know how much you could spend on any particular lane and gather that data that maybe you're not typically harnessing in a transactional level today. So you might be worrying, like, what type of carriers are on there, or how are you guys preventing, bad actors from getting into your network? So we have a couple of things. The first is how we go about mitigating risk and theft, right? So we have a dedicated compliance team that is threading every single carrier that enters our network. So all carriers that have access to our network have gone through all the checks and balances needed in order to be onboarded like any typical carrier out there. We're looking for insurance, carrier of authority, freight guard reports to be positive, you name it. Additionally, the Uber Freight technology and algorithm has proprietary metrics put in place to catch unusual activity. Without getting into too much detail, some examples of this could be an IP address. So if a carrier is associated with a particular IP address and a different IP address is logging into the platform through their email address, that'll be flagged to our system. If a carrier only has 2 trucks within their network, but they've booked a third load, that'll be flagged within our system. So it allows us to proactively identify unusual behavior and bad actors and take advantage of that. We were nominated CargoNet's Best in Cargo Security for 2023. So we take this very, very seriously. Lastly, we have a continuous improvement model, right? So this is service excellence. We're looking at our carriers, we're looking at their on-time delivery percentage, their on-time pickup. We're looking at their average rate of canceled loads and bounces, and ensuring that we have the best carriers within our network. When they fall below a certain threshold, they're put on probation. They have a certain amount of time to improve that, or they'll be removed from our network. The next is LTL, right? So LTL, Uber Freight's differentiated in the fact that we have over $2 billion of LTL under management. So when we step into the ring, we've procured tier 1 pricing from over 75 LTL carriers, both regional and national. So if you've ever tried to negotiate pricing with LTL carriers, you know the first thing is give us more volume and we can give you better rates. Well, this puts customers in a bind where they're forced to give all their volume to one particular carrier to get the most attractive pricing. Due to our $2 billion worth of spend, we've already maxed out the most attractive pricing with all of those carriers. So what we allow you to take advantage of is that pricing and buying power of Uber Freight and IQ Reseller without sacrificing service. So you can choose a carrier based on their regional strengths while still getting the best price, and you can choose a different carrier in a separate region. So I'm sure everyone on this call is familiar with a carrier like Roadrunner. Everyone has a very polarizing opinion on them. But if you use them out of region, you might have had a bad experience. If you've ever used them from Los Angeles to Phoenix, they're pretty stellar. So we have the wherewithal in the management to understand where those carrier strengths are to put you in the best position to increase service without sacrificing costs. So typical LTL, these are the services we manage. Again, we can handle everything under the sun from an LTL perspective. It is a very, very clear differentiator of Uber Freight in terms of how we go to market. On average, we're showing customers 17% cost savings. So the pricing that you're going to see with IQ Reseller is going to be very, very aggressive and specialized, and almost buying power through IQ Reseller. So being part of the IQ Reseller network will give you access to more competitive pricing than if you came to Uber Freight directly, or if you went to a carrier directly. The last mode I'd like to touch on today is intermodal. A big thing that we're going to explore through our partnership is helping you guys to understand where there's opportunity to find cost savings through modal conversion, or understanding seasonality and when to take advantage of rates and when to be careful of the spot market. Intermodal is a really effective cost savings solution. On average, customers see about 30% rate reduction converting from over the road to rail. So what's important to note about Uber Freight is we are the largest IMC in the nation. So similar to LTL, we do more intermodal than anyone out there. Because of the sheer volume we do in intermodal, we have asset-like pricing that's really tough to compete with. Of the top 10 3PLs out there and our biggest competitors, 5 of them use us for rail. That's exactly how aggressive we can get in this space. Now, where we differentiate from those asset players is when you look at these railroads. So we have a full comprehensive coverage from Mexico all the way to Canada. We have tier 1 contracts and pricing with every single major railroad. in hand, the asset providers out there that are competitive to us in price are contracted with one railroad on the west and one railroad on the east. So if your facility has a closer ramp to Norfolk Southern, we're going to be able to put it on Norfolk Southern, where some of the asset players might be forced to use Kansas City Railway. If a railroad is ever shut down, we're going to have the flexibility to flip your container to a different railroad and route it a different way to keep your freight moving and not shut down your supply chain. So again, when it comes to intermodal, outside of it being a cost savings mode where transit will allow, we're stepping into the game with asset-like pricing and flexibility that no one can compete with. So just some benefits of the intermodal, again, access to more capacity. When OTR rates are high, it's hard to find a truck. We can usually flip it to rail, reduce costs. Cross-border expertise is a lot more smooth than over the road. And it's always a good experience for a customer when time will allow. At the end of the day, through this partnership, everyone is going to get access to our data and insights. You're going to have an operational team supporting you. These are people that are not just providing rates in a truck, but ways to collaborate on your goals and things you're looking to accomplish within your supply chain, provide updates, give you tracking, and everything visible right within IQ Reseller. So when we look at the future of an IQ Reseller partnership, IQ Reseller is an ecosphere where you guys can manage all your business today, excluding the transportation piece. The future state is going to be within IQ Reseller. You guys are going to be able to pull full truckload rates, LTL rates, and intermodal rates right from the IQ Reseller platform and book shipments from there. This will allow you guys to have a more seamless operations process. You won't have to go through each individual onboarding process, looking into credit and billing, seeing what you can do. You're going to be able to have one ecosphere where you can bill and manage your freight directly out of IQ Reseller. We'll be able to provide invoicing and tracking down the road through our integration as well. In current state, while the integration and conversation continues to move forward, we would invite everyone on the call, if you have questions, if you need rates, to reach out to Aiden and John, and we'll make sure our contact information is sent out to you guys. Reach out to us directly by email for pricing today. We'll be able to help you out. And as we look towards the full integration, you'll be able to do that quickly right out of the IQ Reseller portal itself. And if you guys have large projects, high volume opportunities, or things that you might want to strategize, of course, you can always reach out to me. We can take a look at if there's a more optimal way to be executing that today, or what some of the operational constraints could look like if we explore some modal conversion.
Tony, thank you for that. Yes, we are working on a very intensive integration that's going to help streamline this entire process with it. Like I said earlier, this is looked at to be due by end of the year with it. And we're hoping to make scheduling freight a very simple process with some very aggressive pricing that's going to keep it very simple for any of the IQ Reseller users. But in the meantime, though, if you have a need, or if you do need to brainstorm, absolutely reach out to Aiden and Tony or myself. We can get you guys in touch and working on it. I don't want any of IQ Reseller's users or customers to have to wait to take advantage of this now, because you have a lot of power now being able to access Uber Freight directly, and that can help to minimize expense on shipping, because it can be costly. These gentlemen are shipping experts, and they have already taught me so much that I didn't even realize when it came to shipping, that I want these benefits to be passed off to our users. So this is something I'm very excited about, because as we know, shipping can be a headache and it can be a large cost, but they can make it very simple.
Appreciate that, John. And you make a good point. Like, no two supply chains are the same. And regardless of the size of a company, everyone's supply chain is complex. And Uber Freight believes that all customers, regardless of size, should have an enterprise solution. So again, as we continue our conversations in future webinars, we want to start to talk to you guys about market updates, right? Macroeconomics, what's happening within the market. If you guys weren't aware today there is a cyclical nature to the market. We're in what we call a deflationary market, and we expect that to change, in the coming year. So piping you guys in to understand how that works, what's impacting those rate changes, and how you guys can mitigate and protect yourselves from those swings. On top of industry news, things like English speaking enforcement and all that, and how that'll impact your supply chain, whether you're directly shipping those modes or not. We'll also look at some microeconomics. So seasonality caused by produce, procurement cycles, hurricane season, and other things that, again, may not impact your region and where you're based today, but impacts the carrier network and where capacity is moving month over month. We'd like to take advantage of modal highlights. So we've talked about full truckload, LTL, and intermodal at a high level. We welcome the opportunity if there's interest to get more granular in those modes, but we could talk about refrigerated equipment, flatbed, our import and export, cross-border, you name it. Ultimately, let us know, right? We want these webinars to be engaging where you guys feel like you're showing up to them and learning the topics that you care about, and not just kind of what me, John, and Aiden throw on a whiteboard that week. We'll figure out a way to get some request intake from you guys, and, continue to put together like things that you're seeing, things that you're hearing, and wanting to know whether it's the NMFC class changes in LTL or port strikes. We want to know what you care about and make sure that you guys feel like you're getting the information straight from the source. So I will open it up to any questions or comments, feedback, and thoughts. Appreciate everyone's time.
Yeah, if someone has a question, you can just raise your hand. We can allow you to come off mute. You can put it in the chat. If you don't have any questions right now either, you can reach out later as well too. And we're really eager to hear the feedback of what you guys want to learn from Freight, because already I thought I knew some stuff about Freight, but Aiden has taught me that waiting 2 days to schedule a truck can actually save you a lot of money based on volume of demand within a certain region or just what's going on. So that's what really excites me about this as well too. Charles, you have a question. You should be able to speak now. Might be on mute, Charles.
Okay, how about now? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Okay, hey, great. Thanks for the great overview. I just have some general questions, like what's the benefit of using Uber Freight? Today I'm using like Uber Box if I need something couriered locally. And it's kind of hit and miss. Like if I go to Uber, my Uber app, and I go to Uber Box, sometimes this driver's not available to, let's say, go from Los Angeles to San Diego, Orange County. But if I just get a regular Uber and he shows up and I say, hey, dude, I'm not going on the trip, can I just drop this box off? No problem. And that works really well. I mean, much better than the courier we used to have, who used to take lunch breaks, and it's kind of a nightmare. So Uber for local courier works well. So the Uber Freight is something new to me. That's why I want to jump on this call. But I want to understand, like, what's the benefit of me using Uber Freight rather than my existing relationship with my my current freight carrier? So I've got a really good relationship. He's on it. Are there tremendous cost savings? Is Uber Freight similar to like catching an Uber? It's like last minute type stuff. If you can give me more of the basic background, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate the question, Charles. And first and foremost, I love that you got some experience with the Uber Box and the couriers. That's actually you're sort of a pioneer in that space. We had a high-level executive from Amazon come over and think about it. He's like, we have all these couriers driving people and food. We should add a third option for, parcel and packages. So it's very much a new service offering that'll continue to build and scale over time. So appreciate you having some experience there. And a great question, right? A lot of people are like, Uber, I know the rides, and I know how people are showing up in their cars. It's a great question, and I appreciate you bringing it up, because I want to make a clear distinction that we are not operating exactly to that model. Right? Not any person can just sign up with Uber Freight and start hauling product, right? So one of the bare minimum requirements is obviously having a CDL and a truck and a tractor and trailer, right?
What does CDL mean?
Commercial driving license.
Okay, got it.
So these are folks that are true carriers, right? So the type of carriers we are working with are going to be a similar network of carriers that any other provider is working with today. All right, so these could be national carriers like Celadon, Swift, and they could be owner operators. The big differentiator is how we're sourcing those owner operators. So I touched on that a little bit earlier, Charles. Like, your current provider today, when you're working with them, I imagine there's a carrier floor. Maybe they're the one sourcing the carriers themselves. We're operating in a similar manner for some of the larger carriers and private fleets out there. But our owner operators are being able to look at the open loads available and decide what freight they want to take. So if they're interested in a load, they can request to be assigned. Your dedicated account manager would be calling that driver to ensure they have the right equipment, they're fresh on hours, the appointments make sense. And that's, what Aiden's focused on here at Uber Freight. But we're just aggregating the owner operator capacity a lot quicker. Another differentiator you're going to get with Uber Freight is just the data that's going to come with it. So, if you're delivering to 16 different facilities around the country, every load you ship with us, you're getting that data. So we're going to be able to let you know your facility ratings, which facilities you're spending the most dwell time. So if there's an average of 3.5 hours of dwell time at a particular facility, well, then we know you're spending about an average of an hour and a half of detention per shipment to that facility. So we can identify areas of improvement. Additionally, you're going to be able to track your freight, which is first in class. So, I've been in this industry for over a decade. I've only been with Uber Freight for 2.5 years. So I've been with some of the other competitors out there, and I know the best of the best are boasting opt-in for macro point and GPS tracking around the 90s, high 90s. But those companies are seeing a connectivity rate of high 60s, low 70s. And what that comes down to is we can get drivers to opt in to GPS and macro point tracking all day, but the connectivity piece doesn't always work. So we're similar. We're in the high 90s for opt-in. I think we're at 99%. The connectivity that comes through it's in the low 70s. But where we bridge the gap is through the app. So our connectivity as a whole is in the mid 90s, which our competitors cannot say. And the reason that is because of the app. So when a driver needs instructions or an address for pickup, they need a pickup number, they're driving to your location, they've picked up the product and they're driving to the receiver. We're actually able to track them and locate them with the app to tell you exactly when they showed up on site, when they left, where they're at, who's tracking for maybe a late delivery or an early delivery. And so those are a few of the differentiators. Ultimately, Charles, my question for you would be, who you're working with today and what type of modes you ship, because the full truckload space, is very market driven. We're all buying lobster. So it's the type of tech and transparency you get along with it. But from the LTL perspective or the intermodal perspective or some of these other modes, like I had mentioned earlier, our buying power, your other providers might struggle to compete with in terms of a buying power and pricing perspective.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I don't really ship that often. I just was like curious about this because you guys do a lot of unique things at IQ Reseller. So, okay, this is good stuff. This is good. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, that's not where we want the buck to stop, right? So Aiden and I, working with John, we want to become an extension of you, right, Charles? So, as we work together, we would like to get to know you and your product and your facilities to where you can truly view us as an extension of your company and your transportation division and have the transparency to manage that all through IQ Reseller.
Got it. Excellent. It sounds like it's just another module, if you will, or another aspect of like what you can monitor with IQ Reseller.
Correct.
Eventually, yeah. Yep.
Okay. Got it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Is there any other questions? And you should be able to talk now.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes. Hi, Anna.
Awesome. Well, I have some more questions about the LTL international options through Uber Freight. But I think you said earlier that that might be a separate webinar. Is that correct?
Yeah, I just, I figured based on, Aiden and I do a lot of business with the ITAD space and electronic recycling. So I figured, LTL, full truckload, and intermodal were going to be particularly hot topics. But if you have any questions about international, please.
Well, so my company, we don't do a ton of freight, and we pretty much exclusively do LTL. But one thing we always ends up being a big pain is international. We ship to and from Canada pretty frequently. And with freight shipments, it can be really stressful because we have to find a customs broker and it takes a lot of time at the border. Is that something that if we ship through Uber Freight that you guys could facilitate, or would we still have the same, would it be the same situation with customs as it would be with any other freight company?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I appreciate it. So, as far as our cross-border capabilities go, within North America, we have an office in Canada and we have multiple offices in Mexico. So we have a very strong presence in both countries, and we hold our own customs license. So whether you guys are clearing freight in and out of the ports of the US or in and out of Canada and Mexico, we can act as an acting broker for you. The one thing we don't do is into Canada. So shipping into Canada, you would still be required to, whether it was your receiving customer has a customs broker to provide that information. But what we do well is helping to find optimization and efficiency with the Canada operation. So particularly with LTL, I have a couple of customers that ship predominantly LTL as well to facilities like Walmart and Amazon. So when you think about an LTL shipment, a cross-border shipment, and a shipment going to a big box retailer, like one of those two, it's kind of like the trifecta of like difficulty. So we have really strong relationships with those big box retailers. Most of them are our customers directly. So we can facilitate a lot of that appointment scheduling and appointment management. We also have a program of consolidation for LTL. So we work with a large mix of enterprise-sized customers that are shipping LTL cross-border to figure out opportunities for full truckload consolidation to where you're sharing that truckload space on a full truckload that's easier to cross the border with, easier to control transit times. And at any time, if you'd like to, set up some time to take a look at your historical shipments, what our pricing would have been, and how some of that consolidation could look, we'd always welcome to, schedule a call with you and talk about that.
Okay, great, awesome, thank you.
So we have a question in the Q&A. What determines what rates we get at the time of booking? And the other question is, does it depend on how much we interact with IQ Reseller? No, it doesn't matter how you interact with IQ Reseller, but Tony will be better to answer what determines what rates we get at the time of booking, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So yeah, to John's point, it's not going to be based on how much you do with IQ Reseller, but IQ Reseller as a whole will be that umbrella shield for you guys doing business with intermodal to secure that aggressive pricing. Now, from a spot quote perspective, we're using historical data and costs within our network. We're leveraging the DAT and average market rate, and we're also taking a look at predictive analytics based on if it's if it's 4th of July coming up, right? There's going to be impacts to capacity and inflated pricing. So when you run a spot rate, we will spit out a calendar of the next 2 weeks and what your shipping rate would be on any particular day. And to John's comment earlier about lead time, right? If it's a load picking up today, it's almost 12 p.m. Central Time, right? So we're halfway through the day. Most of the capacity has been covered for today. If we're trying to get a load picked up this afternoon, it's going to cost a lot more than looking to pick up tomorrow or Thursday. So the lead time and flexibility of a load can impact your costs. but we're predicting the market based on a proprietary algorithm on what we're seeing carriers getting covered for on similar lanes, as well as what we're hearing in the market. That being said, the algorithm is an algorithm, and oftentimes it impresses me every day, but it is not an end-all be-all. You know, we would always welcome a conversation. You guys are running a rate, you're looking at different options, you want to understand why. Like, let's chat about it. We can always sharpen the pencil, make a few calls, and manually price any load for you. It's the ease of getting a rate will be great, but we are still a partner. We want you to buy the way you want to buy. Additionally, if you guys have higher volume lanes or consistent lanes, please share that with us. We can step away from a spot quote angle and look at it more strategically. Right? If we're able to approach one of our carrier partners and let them know this is going to ship maybe 6 times this week instead of just a one-time deal, we can leverage better pricing. Or if it's delivering or shipping every single Monday, we can look for carriers that have committed lanes that are delivering to that area every Monday morning that we can pair them with for your pickup, which can allow us to lock their truck management in so they don't have to worry about, you know, making money on their assets every day, which gives us the leverage to get more cost saving. But in any case, it's all about transparency and collaboration. You know, the more we can understand about your restrictions and like the deadlines you need to meet and where your flexibility is, the more we can kind of play around with that rate. From an LTL and intermodal perspective, those are contracted, those are locked in with every provider year over year. So that's just where our buying power is going to, you know, beat out our competition and show you those attractive costs. But from a full truckload perspective, you know, I always say it, people laugh, but we're buying lobster, right? It's no longer the days of 2013 when everything's $1 a mile. It's like, I wonder what the market price on the menu is today. And, you know, we want to make sure that we can be more than just a here's what the rate is today, but an understanding of why those rates are changing and what impacts those rates and what we can do to buy flexibility to get you guys more aggressive pricing. Did that answer your question? I know it was for the chat, but I want to make sure that I covered that and there might not be any clarifying questions.
Perfect. Thank you, he said.
Great. Appreciate the question.
Yeah, these are all good questions. I think it's going to help gather. When I send this out to, I'll put a poll together of topics that you guys would like to hear next as well. There is a lot to learn about shipping and what Uber Freight can offer as well too. This was just a preliminary high level to introduce this particular partnership that we've been working so hard on for so many months with it. So there'll be a lot more knowledge to come with this as well too.
You know, I'll be bringing on some subject matter experts and, you know, executive leadership on some of these upcoming webinars when we get into those specifics as well.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other questions? If not, I will say, Tony, Adrian, I appreciate, or Aiden, I'm sorry, I appreciate your time and what we've devoted to this partnership. I look forward to continuously working with you guys. It's been excellent so far. And I'll send this out shortly as well.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, John. We're really excited about the partnership as well. You know, if anyone hops on this webinar and starts having lunch and something pops into your head that you wish you asked, or you're driving home and you want to chat about something, like, I'll make sure that you have Aiden and I's email addresses and cell phone numbers. Let's chat about your opportunity. Let's talk about your supply chain. We're here for a partnership, not just to provide rates. So thanks again for having us.
All right, thank you. Take care.
Yep. Thanks, John. Thanks, everyone.